Stay tuned. Your program will begin shortly.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the High Valley Sports Online Playoff Football. Week 2 here with Coach Frank Sassini. We're High Red Riders. This segment sponsored by Blakemore Insurance Agency. We want to thank them as they continue to ride this wave with the Red Riders as long as we are. Coach, thanks for being here with us. We appreciate it. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
We're High, number 5 ranking, coming in at 10-1, scored a repeat win over Frankfort, beat them in week 4, 35-21. Frankfort coming in as the number 12 seed. They win 23-21 in the first round of the West Virginia playoffs. Coach, what a great year, special year for you. 100 years of We're High football, OVAC championship, first playoff win at the new Jimmy Carey Field, first home playoff win since 2008. Congratulations, you continue to add to the tradition of We're High football.
Thank you, and we're checking a lot of boxes when it comes to We're High football and the standard that's been set here through the years, through all the guys who've come here before us. So we're ecstatic about what's going on right now, and we're ecstatic about what's going on with the football program. So we are happy to be in the situation that we're in right now. So now we get to kind of take the show on the road, and we're off the hill at this point, and really just working on logistics of travel and getting everything hammered out this week for practice.
Coach, we've talked about it all year. What a great season it's been, starting with the 100 years. I mean, very few teams in the Ohio Valley can rival the tradition of We're High football. I mean, like we've said it 100 times, the banners that hang in your gym is awesome, and it's great for these seniors, that we've talked about several times, that they get an opportunity to write their own story. That's what brings the most joy to us. We were happy to do the game. We had plenty of listeners. I mean, Danny Vogel can talk more about that. You can check us out on Facebook or our website on YouTube. But what's going on here at We're High Football, we couldn't be happier to be a part of this run with you, Coach.
I thank you for that, and it's a special place. anyone that's been in these hallways understands and sees the history that's lined through this school. I know when you guys made the opportunity or had the opportunity to go with me and take a walk in the hallway, you got to see the history and all the guys that have laid the foundation for this school in the football program and other athletics that they have successes up here. So we're happy where we're at. We're excited about it for the city of Weirton, especially last week, considering we got to go and play in front of our city. And maybe there's a shot that we can come back here on the hill and play another one. But we were happy with the crowd and the excitement, and it was electric up here. The players felt that, and so did the coaches.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, I always like to touch on that, how the community gets behind. We live in an area where football and athletics is very important, and the kids and the community get behind your team. A nice showing for the game. Talking about the game, you get a repeat win over a good Frankfort team. A little bit odd in the wing tee. It's a coach's nightmare. We've talked about that. But, offensively, Corey Lyons, carries the load again. 20 carries, 140 yards. But, Coach, I'll tell you, what impressed me most is when you had to have it offensively, you put together an 11-play drive for 73 yards to take the lead with just over 5 minutes to go. That's, as a coach, that is tough to do. 11 plays, it was a 1-turnover game. You happen to get the good turnover. But, for a high school football team or any team to go run 11 plays and put together that type of drive, that's impressive, Coach.
You're right. And, it started off in the first quarter. We drove down, and you saw flashes of that in the first drive where our offensive line is just taking over games at times. We saw it in the opening drive. We saw it here in the final drive. We challenged those kids that we want to take this ball and go down the field, control the clock, and limit their capabilities of what they can do and keep it in possession in our favor, which we ended up doing. We went right down the field in the fourth quarter, just as you had mentioned, put a big score on the board. Unfortunately, we missed the extra point, but we knew we had to play some solid defense, and that's what happened there at the end, right before the kick had happened. That once again, that side of the ball stepped up as usual, and it's really been flashes the whole year of what we've seen on all three phases. We've seen, and to have successes right now at this point in our program, at this point being the second round of the playoffs, all three phases have been playing well all year, and all three phases have been clicking.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about the offense there, and you mentioned the offensive line. But in the game that we did, and for coaches that I've talked to the coaches at Martins Ferry and at Brook, and it was your front four defensively. Your defense made just enough plays and then make the big play at the end, to help you to win the ball game. So your offensive and defensive line has really stood head and shoulders for you throughout the season, and they come through for you. Talk about the defense a little bit, Coach.
Well, I can tell you that we had deferred. So looking at the second half alone, we knew we had to come out of that locker room, and Frankfort was going to have the football. We'd have to get a 3-and-out, and those guys gave us that. So we had a short field. We had some turnovers. Demir Mauter had a fumble recovery, and I believe either Bobby Schubel or Malachi Strohmau had caused the fumble there. And we didn't get to capitalize on it, but what it did, it flipped the field position early in the third, and it gave us an opportunity to get down there. And I talked about the three phases where we had an opportunity to kick a field goal, and we actually clicked on that and hit a Ben Howard put one between the uprights, and we got on the board there. But that was established by the defense and the way it was playing. Frankfort had popped one through and caught us on a blitz and got down the field on us, and eventually punched one in and went up 21-17. And I believe that we knew that we were going to have to step up and play some solid football on the defensive side of the ball. And now Coach Whiteman at Frankfort, he'd reached out and talked to me after the fact, and he had ran a toss. He had a lot of success there. He had run a toss, and we had the correct play call. Coach Leary and his defensive side of the staff come up with a nice concept where Devin Colson had forced the perimeter play into the boundary and out of bounds, but it kept the clock running, put him in a little bit of stressor before the kick. But that was really what had happened there defensively, was a strong play we had seen in the third and fourth quarter that really helped us win that game.
Yeah, Coach, your team seemed to just come on strong as the game was going on. We got a chance to talk to our two Scott Blumenty especially. Sean Blumetti, who did the game, and he was very, very impressed with how he felt that Weir High just kept on getting stronger as the game, went on. And it's one thing for you to coach hard, but it's another thing for your kids to respond and play hard.
I agree with Coach, and not only that, we have 4 starters that were out of the game, so we are plug and play right now, and the kids that have been getting reps throughout the year have been put in the roles where they're having success. But that's been established since day one, and it's a tribute to the coaching staff and what they had done. But we know that we're playing a good brand of football right now, and we are getting stronger, and that's a tribute to the off season and really this senior group. The senior group's a group that doesn't know how to lose, and they've been really resilient throughout this whole process, and that's why we've seen successes with them in football. A lot of these boys play basketball. I know you've been to some games for Anthony. That those same skill set is out there on the court, and we've seen that throughout track and everything else. So it's just this group. It's one of those groups that they're inseparable. They do everything together. You can see it not just at our high school, but any high school that has successes. It's usually that senior group is inseparable. They do everything together, and they have a mentality of the win all the time, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Well, I love the fact, Coach, that your senior group has stepped up for you. But I even enjoyed being one myself at one time. We all were your assistant coaches. Let's talk a little bit about them, Coach. Who are your assistant coaches?
Well, you have John Leary, who's working with the defense, and Dan Rivera is part of that, and Chris Hill, Quentin Smith, and Jalen Bridges. And, they've been intertwined on both sides of the ball. Tom Taylor calls our offense, and Coach Rivera is involved in that as well, along with Coach Cowden and myself. So, it's a very strong group when you look at, and Gerard Spencer does our tailbacks. So when you look at the group, there's a group of probably almost 200 years of coaching experience that's involved in all this whole thing. So I'm very fortunate where I'm at with this program because of the coaches and what they're doing right now. So it's across the board. They all got their hands on everything that we're doing, and I'm ecstatic right now to have them involved in Weir High football.
Yeah, I always like to bring out the assistant coaches. I mean, I know you're out front, and you got a lot of responsibilities, but nobody can appreciate a good assistant coach more than a head football coach or a head basketball coach, because assistants, they get in and they do all the things that you got your hands on, but you can't do everything as a head coach.
Correct. Dave Cowden working with the quarterbacks, Gerard with the running backs, Coach Hill with receivers. You have Coach Rivera working with the O-line, and Tom Taylor interjecting his say in the whole thing as being the coordinator. So there's a bunch of facets that come into play here, but it's a bunch of guys that are seasoned, and really I'm very fortunate to be where I'm at with the program with these guys.
Well, it's great to hear, I'll tell you. Okay, this is Ray Suckoch here with Coach Frank Sassini. Segment sponsored by Blakemore Insurance Agency. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to talk about round 2 in the West Virginia playoffs, and that opponent for Weir High, Scott, the number 4 seed. We'll be right back.
Blakemore Insurance Agency is exclusive to the senior market. We represent a variety of Medicare supplements or Medicare Advantage plans, giving us the ability to offer some of the most competitive products from the top insurance companies in our country. Our loyalty lies with you, our customer, not the insurance company. Many of today's seniors are completely overwhelmed with turning 65 and going on to Medicare. Call Blakemore Insurance Agency today for more information. 304-723-0909. Blakemore Insurance Agency is a proud sponsor of this broadcast.
Okay, we're back here at Weir High School with Coach Frank Sassini, the Red Riders head football coach. Moving on to round 2, Coach. Great feeling to get that first one in. Home, higher seed team, host. You're the 5, Scott's the 4. You choose to play 1:30 on the Saturday. Let's talk about your preparation for that. Let's talk about the mental aspect of your kids and the coaching staff going in, and about Scott in general, what you can expect. There's a lot into preparing to play on the road, I'm sure.
Well, the first thing was the logistics of what was going to happen since Scott had beat Nitro. that we knew that we were going to be going down there. And we come out of a playoff scenario last year. We traveled very well into Roane County and had to do an overnight because we're talking 4 hours and 20 minutes or so in a vehicle. So we knew that we had to keep us in the same itinerary and how we would travel. So we'll be going down and spending the night in Charleston, and then getting on the buses and heading down in there. But what's unique about this scenario is we've got some connections at WVU, so we're going to stop in Morgantown and have an indoor practice at their indoor facility Friday, and then hit the road for Charleston and basically get our game prep ready as we would. If you're a college team, we're going to travel that way. After our kids have dinner, we'll have conference room set up. We'll watch game film and stuff, and then in the morning. It's a little bit unique. Other than last year's playoff game, we haven't got to have a scenario like that this year where we have to get up in the morning and go play, but our kids are ready for that. Like I said, we have a senior group that's understanding from last year's scenario that what it takes to win this game. And so there'll be a lot of focus there when it comes to how we travel and what we do and how we get into Madison, West Virginia, where Scott High School is located. So we're prepared on that end when it comes to the schematics of travel. So that was really the first thing I had to do once this thing had started. I got a lot of help from Mike Delray, our athletic director, and Dan Eads, who's our superintendent, and Ted Arnaud, who's our principal at the high school, in helping with the logistics of the charter buses and travel and hotel and everything that we need to have in play for this trip to have successes. So, they're basically that group that goes out in front of me and makes sure I have a smooth road. So they're out there getting things organized. So that's been laid out. And then the coaches and myself had gotten a van and drove down to see Scott play live Saturday afternoon. So we did get to see them play. And they were number one in the state all year for a reason in the way they play football. It's a spread concept. It's total opposite of what we had just seen last week with the wing T stuff. But we had seen spread stuff all year with the schedule we had played. So we're very familiar with what we're going to get in that aspect. But they have a really strong group of kids, just like we do. When you get to week 2 of the playoffs, you're going to see a team that has some excellent players in certain areas. And, this one is a challenge because they have a skill set in the perimeter that's very strong. Matt Fry is their quarterback. He is in the conversation with the Kennedy Award in West Virginia. Those of you who don't know, the Kennedy Award is in West Virginia. It goes to the top player in the state of West Virginia, top athlete in the football world. So right now I don't know the exact number of touchdowns he's thrown, 30-some or close to 40 touchdowns on the year. We were down there, he threw 3 in the game that we had watched against Nitro. So that's really the prep when it comes to what they're doing is really the schematics of the travel and to contain Matt Fry and that spread system and, to drive the ball against that defense. Because they actually had a shutout against Nitro, which was very impressive on our end because the previous week Nitro had beat them 28-24, I believe, and this time around Nitro was shut out by Scott High School.
Well, you go from nothing that matters, because I was always of the attitude in basketball, you couldn't worry about whether they was a running team or a walk up the floor. When you go to the dance, you got to be prepared to dance fast and you got to be prepared to dance slow. So I'm sure that's the mentality you have from going last week defending the wing T. Now you're defending a spread offense.
Right, and you could face all these offenses, but it really comes down to the fundamentals at this point. The teams that have the most success do the little things great right now. So it's blocking, tackling, and all those specifics, controlling the ball, not turning it over. I know it all sounds cliche in the coaching world, but it's so simplistic at times where we don't have to get too crazy, just be ourselves, stay within the framework of what we do and do it great and do it at a high level, and we'll have our successes that we've seen now for 11 weeks.
Your kids got to be sky high, Coach, from the season and getting that first playoff win here, which kind of puts you in a okay, we can do this type of attitude. Let's talk about the mental state of the kids and the physical state. Are you getting healthy or are your kids still out?
Well, the physical part first. Yes, we're getting healthy. That bye week really helped us there at the end of the season, and week 11 bye we had before the playoffs. So that really came into play when it comes to the physical side of it. It's the wear and tear of the season. It naturally happens. But mentally, yeah, we're very sharp, as you could say. I said to you before, like the kids have been plug and play. They've locked into the positions and what they needed to do, and we've got some kids that moved around a little bit. So when it comes to between the ears, they're playing that at a high level, especially up front with our offensive line, the way we're blocking our counter tray, the way they're identifying fronts and getting after it. So our O-line's really playing very well right now, and that's really cerebral. We're getting some strong play from our quarterback, running back, and it's really across the board. So it's hitting on all those phases as well when it comes to the preparation for these games.
Well, Coach, you continue to have a memorable year. Living up to the tradition of Weir High has been set before you. You're adding to that tradition now. You checked all the boxes, like as you said, on many things here. You're going into round 2 against a good team in Scott, Saturday afternoon, 1:30. Ohio Valley Sports Online. We're making every attempt to be there. You could tune in to us. It's going to be audio only. We'll be there. So we want to thank Coach Assini for taking the time. We're with you, Coach. You're our lone wolf in West Virginia. We've loved everything you've done. We've enjoyed your hospitality, and we wish you the best of luck, Coach.
Well, I appreciate that. And before we go, I know we're the lone wolf over here, but I know we're attached to Big Red with the show and how you're playing it. That we want to, from Weir High community, Weir High football program, we want to wish them the best of luck in their football game this weekend, and to say congratulations to Coach Suckoch and his Hall of Fame induction. We saw that, so we want to say that to everyone on the other side of the river. Congratulations to everything's going on over there.
That's a beautiful thing, Coach. We'll pass that on. I'm sure our viewers appreciate that in the fact of, but there's been a long legacy and history of Big Red Weir High. I mean, going back to forever. So in all sports. So that's a beautiful thing to say. We appreciate that. And we'll let Coach Suckoch know we're going to leave here and go do his show. And everybody could tune in and watch all 3 shows. We're going to have a special segment as well as we continue in our playoff segments. And want to thank you all for watching in and wish you the best of luck, Coach. And until then, everybody be well. Stay safe. It's Ray Suckoch along with Coach Frank Sassini. This segment sponsored by Blakemore Insurance Agency. Bye for now.
Blakemore Insurance Agency is exclusive to the senior market. We represent a variety of Medicare supplements or Medicare Advantage plans, giving us the ability to offer some of the most competitive products from the top insurance companies in our country. Our loyalty lies with you, our customer, not the insurance company. Many of today's seniors are completely overwhelmed with turning 65 and going on to Medicare. Call Blakemore Insurance Agency today for more information. 304-723-0909. Blakemore Insurance Agency is a proud sponsor of this broadcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is the 4th segment that we've had here, 4th week of the playoffs on the tradition of Big Red football. We're bringing on some new players, coaches, and everything else that we could have here. From left to right, we got Teddy Gorman, who Teddy played 83, 84, graduate 85, played on the first state championship of Big Red. Ralph DeBalco, who was on one of Abe Bryan's last teams, played 68, 69, and 70. I believe it was all state. Richard Poe, who played with Ralph at that time in the late 60s, early 70s. And to my immediate left, Ralph Petrella, who played 3 years for Big Red and played on the 05 state championship team. Fellas, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you coming, giving up your time to talk about something near and dear to everybody at Big Red football. First thing we want to touch on as we can is we want to go, we're going to start with Teddy on the left and just talk about some personal experiences, what they took from Big Red football that has helped them and the Steubenville City Schools, which helped them later on in life and to this day. So let's start with Coach Gorman over there. He was a player, coach, now principal, as well as city council member. So thanks for joining us, Teddy.
Thanks, Coach. I would say the first thing, I graduated '86 from Steubenville High School, so I played my junior year. We won the state championship in 1984.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And then my senior year, of course, it was 1985. So, but then I went on to play at West Liberty, and but I took my experiences really that I took really from Coach Sack. Ray Sack was my 8th grade coach at the Harding Bulldogs. So we were just talking about Jimmy Mack Wilson is my assistant in basketball. He has a grandson that's 12 years old, and I have a son that's 12 years old. So, but we're both '86 graduates, and he was the quarterback on the Grant Tagger football team, and it was the last Harding Grant game in Harding Stadium. We had a big crowd, and then we just recently just talked about that, and we talked about just our what transpired as we went on in the high school. Jimmy Mack decided he didn't want to play football; he just wanted to be a basketball player, and he did fantastic at basketball and baseball. But with me with football, it was a great experience. I come from humble beginnings. Eight kids in our family. My mom didn't even know I was even going to practice. I always joke about. I lived here on Sunset at the time. I just walked. She never knew when I was coming or going. But I found that a family atmosphere in Big Red football. I had a father figure in Reno, and still to this day, and still respect him that way. So again, I was blessed to play for Big Red football, and I wouldn't change one thing about it.
I appreciate that. I remember Teddy was my center for that last Harding Bulldog team, and first one on the field, last one to leave. Got a lot of hard work ethic from Pepe Price, who was our Harding line coach at that time, and we beat the heck out of Jimmy Mack Wilson. I mean, and on the side note there, that was our goal, to beat him up, because they were probably more talented than us. And Jimmy Mack knows, like in the middle of the third quarter, he came out and got underneath the guard. We was beating him up, but that was good times here. We're going to go over here to Ralph DeBacco, who was All-State at Big Red, and I think your junior year, Ralph, you played on a solid 7-2-1 team. Lost that opener to Louisville Trinity. Yeah. They were a class above everybody. I remember sitting in the stands whenever Louisville Trinity come out on the field, and I said, "Oh, Big Red got one coming tonight."
Well, they were the previous Kentucky State champion the year before. And a lot of people likened that game to Alabama versus Ohio State, because they were quick as can be, and we were big and whatever, Ohio State, and we just couldn't stay with them. I think we lost by a couple touchdowns. And the next Monday, Abe Bryan was fit to be tied. He just very disappointed that we didn't hang in there better than that. But we had a lot of good players. I think back at all these guys that, coming to starting in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, coming to Harding Stadium to see the big boys play. I remember seeing, Mike Palmer, and I was a little young for Harry Wilson, but then guys like Steve Wilson and Mitch Bass, rest in peace, and quarterbacks like Pat Vaccaro and then Danny Spawn, and these guys impressed us so much about just doing your best and persevering. And I think the number one thing for me with the Big Red football was persevering, in the sense that, guys like Rich Poe here, Rich wasn't blessed like I was to be more mature and more athletic. And so I had an easier time, or whatever you want to call it, to play. I started and excelled. But, Rich had to work at it. He came to practice 5 days a week, just like everybody else. And then Saturday mornings, got up and went to reserve games, right, to play. And I look back at that, and I see how perseverance is what, is the key to success, that you never give up, you never quit. And with football, that goes, last weekend shows you pro football games, 5 of those games were decided with the final kick, right? And that's probably the biggest thing that I got from my experience this Big Red football is just perseverance.
I appreciate that, Ralph. Ralph avoided tragedy, I think, at Marshall.
Well,
Did that happen the year before you,
year
Ralph?
before. That was the year before. When I went to Marshall, it looked like that bar from Star Wars. We had guys from Long Island. We had guys from West Virginia. We had a guy who was 26 years old. He came from a boat building school in Norfolk, Virginia. You know, and we had just a real mix of different people from different places. One thing I do remember was there was a couple guys from Warren Harding there, and they said to me and my friend Sam Stephanitis, rest in peace, they said, we always hated to play you and Massillon because you guys always hit the hardest.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing, Ralph, that, you talk about Abe Bryan and, local legend here, and what he's done, and his legacy lives on. And Reno is very, very, I don't know what the word would be, but he's very, very concerned to make sure that Abe Bryan's legend lives on. And that was the time whenever Abe made the big move and got into the All-American Conference. I mean, that just changed the whole picture. I can remember telling Bobby Radakovich whenever we coached together, Bobby, I said, you guys were really worried whenever you had to go play Central. He goes, play Central. He said, Raymond, he said, we played Massillon, Canton McKinley. He said, Niles, Warren Harding. And I remember as a kid, coming to watch Big Red compete in those games, and Big Red was in every single game. What year was it that was it your year you tied 12-12?
When we were juniors.
Junior, okay.
Now, senior year, we didn't fare that well, but we'll leave that where it's at. We don't want to get into that.
Yeah, but I remember it was that wasn't that was the one tie on that 7-2-1
Yes.
team, because that team was a very, very good team your junior year. And I remember talking to Charlie Watt when I was his assistant coach, talking to Charlie about all that time, because he was coaching football at that time as well.
Yeah, one little side bit about that is our senior year then, Massillon was state champs, and Dennis Franklin
Yes.
was the quarterback for Massillon, who went on to quarterback Michigan. Now, our quarterback, Jeff Spawn, also went to Michigan, but, Jeff was smaller, not as athletic and whatever. And so Jeff ended up running the scout team for Michigan for 4 years. Now, that's perseverance to
Absolutely.
me. To get and run, every Monday to know that the first team defense is coming after you. But Jeff never quit.
Richard Poe,
Yes, sir.
sponsoring this segment. This segment sponsored by Poe Financial Services. I want to thank Richard. Had an opportunity to meet Richard in the old Bennigan's. Walked in and saw us doing our coaches show, and got right involved with us right away because of your love for Big Red and the positive experiences that you had, that you've touched on with me personally earlier. Let's go with that a little bit, Richard, and what Big Red meant to you.
Well,
And still means to you. I'm
it
sorry.
still means you run out that door out there, which is only half the building.
Right, it's a
And
big change from when you got
realized you're part of something bigger than you can imagine. And Ralph's right. I didn't get to play starter. I was small, but I did believe that discipline and perseverance and pain you grow from. I had Ted. It's Ted though. You say he graduated in '86. That's when my youngest daughter was born. She's 37 now. So, but in any event, my dad passed away when I was in 6th grade and had a rough childhood. And Abe Bryan was like a father to me, and I think I mentioned that before. And the always gave you goals, and it became very goal oriented because of that. You never always hit your goals, but Robert Browning, the poet, said, your reach should exceed your grasp for what's heaven for.
Good.
And running out that door meant a lot to me. I remember Ralph, especially, he was a motivator in the locker room. Man, it's hard for you to believe, but big motivator. Do you still have part of the bench out here? We had the wooden bench here along the practice field, and it was about this big. It's painted white, had Ralph's seat in it. And every time we go out there, Ralph sat in the center of the first row.
Because he was the toughest guy on the team.
I think this is a little bit of exaggeration here.
It was Ralph's seat.
Yeah.
And but that the motivation in the locker room was there, and the continually pushing and pushing and pushing. I remember in practice they called a play, and I had to block down as an end, and I hit Steve Hargrove. Remember Steve Hargrove?
Oh, yeah.
I
Absolutely.
knocked him on his ass, and I was only 140 pounds, and I had to be on the first team offense for 2 plays. And then they threw me back on the second team offense. But still, the act of being part of something big we can imagine and carrying on through life, through business, using those same principles and perseverance.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think that's something that's really, really understated about the values that we all learn as athletes from coaches, from teammates, from opposition, and how you bring it into your everyday life, you know, whether it be organizational skills or motivations, and then dealing with, you know, our own children and stuff like that. My thing right now is I was really, really hard on my son, but I sit on the bench now when he's coaching, because I said, don't you yell at my grandson. And that's always my motivation, because I see that I've recognized that my grandson is a quick learner. So, you know, I don't want him to yell at him. I want him to teach him. And I don't know if we had coaches like that. I think we had coaches that practice tough love.
That's why I'm looking at you the way I'm looking at you.
I hear you, Ralph. And he says that too. He says, of all guys that tell me don't yell at my kid, you know, it's you. Ralph Petrello, what do you got? Tell me, buddy.
Man, Big Red football's meant everything to me, Coach. It's really cool hearing what you guys are saying as like older Big Red players, because I feel the same way in a lot of aspects. I grew up on Pleasant Heights, so you could feel the drums of the band pregame. Like, I was a little boy that wanted to play Big Red football, like wanted to. I could hear it, I could feel it. And my parents divorced when I was young, and it's one of those things that, like, when I say Big Red football saved my life, like JoJo Sack, Coach Sack used to pick me up after wrestling practice and drive me to the Catholic Community Center so we could lift again. He gave me discipline. He gave me a father figure when my dad was working in the mill, was working shifts. Like, perseverance. Coach talked about perseverance. Getting knocked down over and over again in life. So I coach at Wheeling University for strength and conditioning. So we're preaching to our kids the same principles that we do here. Next play, keep going. If you get knocked down, get up and hit them harder. And that's what life's about. And that's what Big Red football is about, is life. The transfer from what we do in the weight room, on the field, to business. I own several businesses as well. So we got to get up and go at 3 a.m. and make sure everything's ready to go.
And I appreciate you taking the time, everybody taking the time to come here and share this with all our viewers out there. Teddy, I think you have a unique view, you know, being a player, somebody coming up, seeing the consolidation of the schools, you know, going on to play college football, coming back, being a coach, getting out of coaching, getting into administration. What have you seen differently, Teddy, through all these kids, things that maybe they're facing that you didn't face, or me and Ralph and Richard even more than that?
I would say it's funny. Ralph talks about, you know, just the different quotes and different things like that. Every day I read the announcements to the kids, and I think that's important. Not that I have a great voice or anything like that, but I want them to hear from me, from the leader of the school. But every day I end my announcements. I announce their birthdays, I announce the activities, good luck to our teams, all of that stuff. But then I always end it with a thought for the day. And my thought for the day yesterday was a Rocky Balboa thought for the day. And it was about sunshine and life doesn't treat you fair. And again, I think that, you know, as I walk around and walk into the teachers' rooms, this is my 10th year as the building principal. I see quotes in their rooms, and I hear kids, and they email me quotes, and they send. So again, it's all about getting them to think, you know. And I have my own. We have every administrator down there has their own homeroom. So today we talked about, and we had homeroom today, and I had my own homeroom, and we talked about kindness and about giving back to kids and helping each other out, being supportive, being cheerleaders for each other. And I talked to them, and someone told me, and I said, we all woke up different today. Different environments, different things, but and we all have our own problems. But we're all in it together. But if we put all of our own problems into the middle, and you heard everybody else's problems, you'd probably take yours back out and say, I'm good. I think life's treating me pretty good. So I think really the different kids, they have technology. There's a lot of different things. I told the kids this morning. I said, you guys have it different than when I had it when I was a kid. And I said we had a phone. It had a cord. I grew up without a phone a lot because again we were a poor family. We didn't have phones all the time. Our phone would get shut off and all of that stuff. But every kid has a phone. I don't care how poor you are or how rich you are. Everybody has a phone down there. So again, they're being raised a little bit different that way. I think you have to have high expectations for kids. I don't think we can ever forget. We got to be a little more forgiving of things than probably we were. Things are probably a lot less physical than we have to use a little more different words, maybe some different language. But I think at the same time, expectations are really the same. That's what I believe that.
And Coach, I think what you said, like expectations make Big Red football.
Oh yeah.
We expect to be in the championship game every year. That was you're expected to win, and not just win on the field, win in the classroom, win at life. Like every day, like we have an opponent. We talk about this at our gym. Other gyms are our opponents. And not just to get more money, but to be better, right? We want to be like, it's fine to say you can be cocky. We want to be better than you, and we want to show you we're better than you, and we want to work harder to be better than you.
Well, I really, really appreciate you guys' comments on that. You're all part of something that Reno, I see in the paper, and I hear him say it all the time, saying, Big Red tradition has gone back so far, but now it's time for us to add to that tradition, and everybody is a part of that tradition. But one thing I want to talk to my paisan, Ralph DeBarco, about, as far as Ralph Petrella, us three are from the same hometown in Italy, Prato-Rapalligna, Italy, Abruzzo. So that's for all you viewers out there. You're getting a little bit of this Italian hour here that we're talking about. But, I know Ralph, in athletics, we talk about relationships. And when I think of Ralph DeBarco, I think of Richard Pugh. I think of Dave Heineman. I think of Mike Bauman, Sammy Stefanidis, Harry Cohen. That's the group of guys that I can remember competing against, as a young kid from the time that we were small. But me and you, we grew up eating salami sandwiches together. But, touch on the fact of the relationships, Ralph, that you still maintain with these guys. Because the first time I met Richard Poe, he tells me, yeah, I was just with Mike Bauman, Ralph DeBarco, and Dave Heineman.
It's almost like family.
Right.
You never break. You may not talk for months and years and whatever, but when you do encounter each other, it's just like you picked up where you left off. I still talk with Chris Chorba, who lives in Vegas. Harry Cohen, every so often we get together. Dave and Mike are local, so I bump into them not as much as I probably should, but and it's just like you said, though, we pick up right where we left off, and we laugh and we joke and when we remember, because now the days get shorter, but we always have those memories, and those things are something to cherish, especially our Big Red years and our Big Red football, not just the football, just the idea of the high school 420, North 4th Street. That's like a monument almost to us.
Yeah, I mean, they made a comment on TV about Big Red had jerseys on that said 420 on them. And they had to explain, that's 420 North 4th Street, and thinks of that South 4th Street, North 4th Street. Richard, being personal, You made a comment on the fact of how A.B. Bryant stepped in as a father figure for you because you lost your father at a young age. How'd that influence you as a father?
Well, you learn from the best. He was definitely the best, and disciplined. The kids are, fortunately, all three are successful. I was a vice president at Columbia Gas. My son's a partner in a big law firm. My other daughter is a supervisor in Franklin County, downtown Columbus. You're 3 for 3, so you feel like you did something right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but always the same traditional things. You know, a dad. You know, but well, that's just the way it's going to be. You know, it has to be this way. They roll their eyes, but you know, here they are now, and so it's tremendously helped. As far
It's
as
beautiful.
because I never really had a family, and and having a family was totally different.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here. This segment, our fourth segment on Big Red Football Tradition, brought to you by Poe Financial Services. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about today's Big Red football team.
At Poe Financial, Richard Poe can help you with all your financial needs, from retirement planning to investment management. With his expertise and guidance, you can feel confident about your financial future. Richard Poe is a 1971 graduate of Steubenville High School, and he lives out of the area, but he loves the Ohio Valley. Richard Poe wishes good luck to all area teams and is a proud sponsor of this broadcast. Call him at 614-806-2230. That's
Okay, we're back here with our fourth segment of the
614-806-2230.
tradition of Big Red football, sponsored by Poe Financial Services out of Grove City. Richard, we appreciate your sponsorship. What we want to talk about now is today's Big Red football team, and what I find crazy is we all grew up in a society that was very hands-on. I mean, it was not out of the ordinary for any of our coaches to get their point across physically in what we're doing. And we all enjoyed success at Big Red. In today's world, for better or worse, that's not acceptable. We as old heads talk about could have never got away with that whenever I was playing, or I would have done this, or this would have been, or A.B. Bryant would have did this, or, or Teddy transitioned from getting beat up to beating somebody up, but Big Red has continued to win, in this new age. And that's a credit to everybody, not only Reno, but his assistant coaches, the administration. I tell everybody I have no qualms about it. The administration in the Steubenville City Schools has always been solid and has always given the foundation of an opportunity to win. And you've been loyal to them, and they're loyal back to you. But what do you attribute the fact of Big Red still wins to, Teddy?
I would say one. I said, I played for Reno as his first year as a sophomore, and I saw how he really evolved as a coach. I look 40-something years later. He's had to adjust with society. He's not coaching the same way that he coached. Back in 1983, but again, he's still getting his point across. And I think I heard the word relationships and different things like that. What people don't see on the inside is they don't see all these one-on-ones with players. They don't see this, these relationships that he's building with these kids. And these, again, he's a father figure to them also in a lot of ways, and helping them out and seeing them. He wants to see them be successful in life. So I think the same thing. I look at I look at this year's team. I look at last week, standing on the sideline, we get down 13-0. The next time we get the ball at the -5 yard line. Never a doubt in my mind, and I hope these guys feel the same way. That's another thing I think that's positive about Big Red. You never think you're ever going to lose the game. You go into the game and you step on the field with confidence, and that you're going to finish the game. When we were down 13-0, I never felt at one time it looks like it's going to be a landslide and that we're going to lose the game. You know, we're one play away. And, you know, I'm walking up and down the sideline last week talking to the players. Hey, we're one play away. Just get back in there. I heard Ralph talk about next play. You know, those are things that was embedded in us as people. When we walked into Harding Stadium, you know, I'm telling my 12-year-old, you know, when I played, you know, we played Big Red or we played Wintersville or played Central, we played Wintersville. We get 8, 9, 10,000 people in those games. I mean, there were people sitting on the hillside. I mean, that was just commonplace. And so I think, again, you know, learning that, and when you're coming from programs that are not established, you don't understand that at all. You have, you know, these consolidated schools and stuff like that have not bought into the whole thing that you're invincible, that you can't be beat. That got to be your mentality.
Can I piggyback?
I like it, but Ralph, I mean, like, you bring on a whole different aspect because now you're dealing with young men.
Yep.
I mean, like, for the most part at the high school level, you know, that's one thing, but now you're dealing with college guys and you're coaching, and you coached at Texas Tech, right?
Yep.
So it's got to be a whole different, even taking it another step, because now you're telling young men what to do.
Yeah, and we use the same thing as Coach Sack, though. I wanted to piggyback off of Coach Gorman in two aspects. Coach does an amazing job of knowing his players. Like, he has a relationship with them. He knows, like, hey, I can go after this kid. Jeremy Presley, I can go after his soul. I was never a player like that. Like, Coach had to love on me a little bit. Like, if I was in my head, like, he would come over and be like, hey, man, like, you're good. Like, he might, like, call you out in front of the team, but he would pull you aside and love on you. And that's what we do with our players. You have to know which kids at the next level you can get after. Like, Big Zay, he's one of our guards. I can go at Zay's chest. But a receiver like Trey, I got to love on Trey a little bit. I got to give him a little bit more hug. And the second thing I wanted to piggyback is what Coach said, talking about being down 13-0. And I'm sure Mr. DeBacco, Mr. Pugh have the same maybe stories.
Mr. Poe. Please don't make you feel.
You messed me up.
Don't make you feel worse,
Sorry,
man.
I
Look
blame
at it.
him. It's his fault.
It's always Ray's.
That's always Ray's fault. Coach's fault.
I've been taking the blame a long time, Richard.
You know, every year I feel like that happens. We were down 14-0 with like 7 minutes to go against Akron St. Vincent St. Mary's. My senior year, we just talked about, hey, get a score, get a turnover, get a score, take it to overtime, and then win in overtime. But we're going to win. There's never a moment of doubt. And I think that's another thing, piggybacking off you. That happens every year. You know, tight game, close game, fight back game. I think that's a testament to the program for hundreds of years. You know, I think that goes back to the beginning.
Well, I know that was my coaching style. I mean, I know that I personally made sure that everybody that was on any one of my teams knew that personally I loved them. And what I'm going to do here, I might be out of line looking back in some of these things, but I believe all my players knew that I loved them. And I was coached like that in high school by Bobby McCoskey, who was a quarterback on one of the Big Red's best teams. He's my man. I still talk to him today. I tried to get him to come down here, but his son was being sworn in as a judge. So I said, what's more important to you, Big Red football or your son being sworn in as a judge?
You're right, it is.
You know,
That's right.
so that's how I go. But Ralph and Richard, you guys experience the same thing, you know, with the physicalness of the coaches. Whereas today, how do you guys being fans now, removed from the game, not a coach, not a player, how do you as fans view the Big Red team?
I think, first of all, the exposure today. I mean, how do you get away from anything? I mean, those days we had practice. I mean, few people standing by Mr. Wiggs or whatever it was, the time Thrift Town or whatever, watching. But and the coaching was exactly what you said. You learn love the hard way. It's kind of like everything's coming in here. You talk about your family. Rob was saying, there's still family. You have to take them aside, Trey, whoever Trey is. It's the same thing. And I think exposure of every move you make, it seems like. I mean, you think of something, it shows up on your cell phone. I'm hungry for pizza. So you're getting pizza ads on your cell phone. It's amazing.
It is.
And I think that's a lot to do with how coaches, your exposure today of how you act in front of people, how you treat your players. It's made a complete turnaround as far as, not that it's good, bad, or ugly. I mean,
Right. It's
lived
tough
through
to
it,
say.
so.
I mean, were we tougher than these kids? I mean, these kids win, man. I mean, they win. I mean, they play hard. They hit. I mean, like I agree with Teddy. I mean, I broadcasted the game against Big Red, and it was 13-0, and I didn't even flinch. I said, Big Red's going to be fine. I mean, we need one big play, one good thing to go our way, and then it's steamrolled, and we get 28 unanswered points.
As soon as I saw we were 13 points down, because I live in Columbus, I said, oh, who screwed up? Well, this is going to be messy for the other team. I just started thinking, they're really going to come on now.
Right.
Because now they're ticked off. And so, yeah, it's
Ralph, how you view today's athlete?
Probably the biggest thing that amazes me in all different aspects is the sophistication of so many different parts. We started with a weight machine over in the other side over there, and that was our training, our weight training, and it was just confined mostly to the season or the summertime before in the season. But now I understand the weight training goes on all year round, and
It's part of the curriculum.
And I understand. But when I was probably junior year, senior year, during the day I worked construction, carrying plaster for guys, and that was my workout. But then also at night we did the machine and thing. But I don't think that everyday approach is close to the weight program that was initiated by your brother and been going on for years and years, because that is success, continual success, and along with that is the sophistication of the play calling and the play systems. We ran 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You passed when you needed a first down, and you were down 7 yards or 8. But now it just, you come out passing right from the get-go. You intermingle all sorts of misdirections. It's really entertaining. And on top of that, then to be able to learn all that and to apply it from the student athlete, because you got to be a student.
Absolutely.
You have to study and make sure. And I've seen your brother on the sidelines. If somebody messes up, I don't want to be him.
Well, you know what? You talk about that bothers me in the fact of if somebody says that today's kids are not as tough as we were. You touched on it. Today's kids, I mean, I'm going to tell you something. To play football for Big Red and other schools around, but at Big Red, you give up a lot. I mean, you are year-round at Big Red. And, you play other sports, but you're year-round Big Red football. We didn't do that.
I think one thing, too, is that really when those guys played, I heard stories of Abe Bryant, and he was so loyal to his seniors. And it's what you're saying, though. I heard, I was born and raised this way, but, Coach Sack, I've been in many meetings in this particular room. I'd say, man, Coach, this guy's a junior. I think he's better than this senior. And, we'd go through a scrimmage, and we'd come back in, we'd watch the film, and, that kid that he wants to give a chance to is not performing. And I came back as an administrator later on, and the tight end coach was having the same conversation with Coach Sack, and he was saying, no, I think so-and-so is better than that person. He said, we're not determining the starting lineups after one scrimmage. After we go 2 scrimmage, so again, loyalty, where a lot of other coaches and programs, they don't value that. You see, the running clock, in my opinion, hurts Big Red. It hurts Big Red from the sense that our goal is if we get up enough, every kid deserves to play. And that's, they go through the program, they go through all the nonsense and all the pain and hard work, but they have an opportunity to play. So the running clock, we don't get as many players in. When I first started coaching, at Big Red, I coached here for 16 years. I was a JV coach along with the varsity coach. But he would come, and this is before cell phone era, and he would come back, and I think the boosters told him that we won or lost or whatever. He never asked if we won or lost. Did every kid play in the game? And if they didn't, guess what? He didn't blame those kids. He blamed the coaches. Again, so looking at that, seeing the big picture of it, and that's probably why today we still have 60, 70 kids on our sideline, sophomore through senior. We have currently on this team, we have 34 freshmen. So 34 freshmen. There's some varsity teams don't even have 34 kids on the varsity.
I can vouch for that.
You have to look and you have to say we're doing something right. We're doing something right. So I just think that the loyalty part of it, and I think that coaches sometimes they throw a kid to the wayside a little bit too quick. What is a program player? We've all played with program guys. They're not going to go on to college. They're not going to do, but they are good high school players, and they work their way all the way up through the system, and they know their place. You can probably think of guys on your hand. I can name guys right
Absolutely.
now. That were they great players? No, but they were program players, and when we needed a guy to step in, guess what? They filled us, and they didn't care. I think today's society, I think that's things too. I'm 6'3", I'm 220 pounds. Well, I'm a middle linebacker. No, in our system, you might be a guard. You might be a defensive lineman. So, because that's where we have to put you in order to win. Because overall, we're trying to win as a team. Yep. So a little bit different.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Beautiful, beautiful round table here. Very, very appreciative of everybody's thoughts. Teddy Gorman, Ralph DeBalco, Richard Poe, Ralph Petrella. It's Ray Suckots here for High Valley Sports Online. This segment has been sponsored by Poe Financial Services. Men, thank you for coming. I'm really appreciative of it. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and we'll see you next Wednesday with our next edition of the history and tradition of Big Red football. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Fort Steuben Maintenance should be your first choice when it comes to any and all construction projects, whether it's commercial or residential. Make Fort Steuben Maintenance your first call. You can rely on them to be the experts when it comes to roofing, concrete, plumbing, carpentry, just about any job that needs done. Fort Steuben Maintenance, they're fully licensed and bonded and will even give you a free estimate. Fort Steuben Maintenance. You want the number? 740-283-4890.
Welcome, everybody, to High Valley Sports Online. Week 4 of the High playoffs. Steubenville Big Red still alive. Segment sponsored by Fort Steuben Maintenance. Coach Reno Suckots. Coach, thanks for having us. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Big win, Coach. Number 1 seed beating a, what were they?
11, I think.
13 seed. You won 12 in a row, Coach. We've said it every week like a broken record. The team continues to get better. It was a different game on Friday night. I don't think the score is indicative of the game. I think after getting down, I think you were in control of the game. But it is what it is. But your team responded to some adversity.
Yeah, when you look at that game, we didn't start out very well and we didn't finish very well, but we played a really, really good end of the first quarter and beginning of the fourth quarter. I felt that our team was at the top of its game on both sides of the ball and special teams. I really feel that maybe substituting too early had something to do with it, but I think it's very important that my philosophy is to get as many kids in the game as you can, as often as you can. You never know when you're going to need them, or maybe for the next year. They've been there, they've been in there, and I think it's just saying thank you to the guys that work so hard that don't get to play that often.
Yeah, I mean, like not only when you talk about responding, I mean, Aiden Manning, I mean, he could have put his head down and pouted after throwing that pick six, but not only he responded, but the entire team responded. I saw the sideline. You guys were cool and picking each other up, and you even got down 13-0 after that. So Aiden Manning and the entire team, responded, and I think that's a confidence level for the team.
Well, I think that, not just the quarterback, but I think that everybody was a little bit down, but I think that one play could pick you up and reacted to that one play. A good throw, a couple good blocks, good protection, and a great run. But I think that's what got us back in the game. Then we had a real good series after that defensively, and went and scored again. So, being down and coming back is good, but we just didn't start the game off in a manner which I believe is very important when you get to the playoffs. Starting the game strong and finish it even stronger is the key to winning a playoff game.
Well, your experience at that, with all the success the Big Reds had here, moving forward in the playoffs, the offense scores 28 unanswered points. The defense forces two turnovers, holds them at bay, allows the offense to come back, and the defense was good enough to advance.
Yeah, we were good. I mean, our defense stood out on that 3rd and 4th and 1. That was a big turning point defensively. And offensively, we just kept butting away. We didn't have any great runs. We didn't have anything great, but we had a lot of good grinding, a lot of good 3-yard gains, 5-yard gains, 2-yard gains, 6-yard gains, and all those add up. And like I tell our backs, your goal was to get 3.5 yards and get that 3 times when we have a first down. But if you keep getting that 3.5 yards, you're going to break one. And just set our goals, our attainable goals, get first downs, and maybe the big play will come after that.
Well, Big Red football moving forward, it's the 3rd time you beat Indian Valley in the past, I don't know how many years, but that was a different Indian Valley team. They were better, I think, than the past teams. They were more physical.
They were tougher teams, and they were tough last year. We just got hot last year, at the right time. But this year, their main players stood out, and they were good, solid players, and we've respected them going in, and we respected them coming out. So it was a good game for us, and a very good game for the way they ended.
Well, you talked about subbing. Maybe you subbed a little bit too early, but I know that's your philosophy, because we've talked about it before. You get them kids in, and they're going to practice harder for you and feel like they're part of the team, and make it everything better moving forward for you whenever you get as many kids as you can.
I just think that's the best way that the coaching staff and a group of players can say thank you to the guys that help them, and that's what that was. That was a thank you, and I thought they played well. We didn't get a first down offensively, but they ran a blitz and caught us in the backfield, and we weren't able to complete the play. But all's good, and the most important thing right now is this afternoon's practice.
Well, Coach, I know you're you know that you don't do it alone. You got a bunch of good assistant coaches. They're working hard, and they're I think some of their job is to be to pick up some of these players too if they get down as well.
Well, they do. I mean, our coaches do a good job. They have a good relationship with the players, and it's tough love, and sometimes kids take it wrong. But and overall, I think that mentally, physically, emotionally, morally, that everybody's in on the same page.
Okay, Coach Reno Suckott here talking about Indian Valley in the win. Big Red moving to 12-1. Going to come back here in a few minutes and talk about this week's opponent in Sheridan, who will be the number 2 seed. A 1-2 game going to be played in New Philadelphia. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. This segment sponsored by Fort Steuben Maintenance.
You know, Fort Steuben Maintenance should be your first choice when it comes to any and all construction projects, whether it's commercial or residential. Make Fort Steuben Maintenance your first call. You can rely on them to be the experts when it comes to roofing, concrete, plumbing, carpentry, just about any job that needs done. Fort Steuben Maintenance, they're fully licensed and bonded and will even give you a free estimate. Fort Steuben Maintenance. You want the number? 740-283-4890.
Okay, Division 4, Region 15 finals. The 1-2 game. Coach, you got Sheridan this week. Let's talk a little bit about them. All I hear is they're big and they're strong. That's all I know.
Well, first of all, Coach Culver's father passed away within the last year and a half, and what a guy he was. He got that program started. Not taking anything from the coach right now because he's doing a great job too. But his dad got a couple programs off their feet, and it was a really, really, really good coach. Very fundamentally sound. Had the respect of his staff and respect of the community and respect of the rest of the coaches in Ohio. And I'd just like to pass that on to Paul Culver III and just wish them the best.
Coach, what can you tell us about them? What can we expect from Sheridan?
They're a good team. They're a good team. They have an outstanding quarterback, but aside from any outstanding players, they fight as a team. They win as a team. They got beat as a team. I mean, they get after it. They're well coached, well disciplined, and physical. They have good speed, good athleticism, and like I said, and they're on a roll. They lost to Tri-Valley. It was the 9th game of the season, I believe. Maybe the 10th game of the season. I'm not sure, but they've bounced back and they beat a really, really good Hartley team last week, and they have some really outstanding wins. And they're, like I said, the thing that they have the most is they are a team, and that's what you have to get after. You have to be a good team to beat a team.
Well, that we are. I know you've won 12 in a row. The only loss was the opening round loss to Ursuline, who I believe is still undefeated and still in play.
They play Chardon this week,
which is a tough thing. But Region 15, Division 4, it hasn't been easy, Coach, but you survived.
Well, I don't even know how good our region is. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad, but I know it has a lot of very well coached teams, very physical teams, and it's a well balanced region. And whatever that is, I know that the winner of our region is going to do good in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully we're at our best Friday night, and we can earn the respect that we give everybody that we have. We have a lot of respect for Sheridan, the town, the coaches, the players, and we respect their game. We respect the way they play, and hopefully we can earn their respect Friday night.
Well, I think the history between Big Red and Sheridan, I could just remember. We played him in St. Clairsville one time. Have we played him
We played him in '94, and we won. And we played him in 2004, and we got beat 22-18. We played him at Dover at that time.
Okay,
so we're 1-1 against them.
All right, Coach. Don't want to keep you. I know you're busy. You got a lot of things to do. Getting ready for today. Want to wish you well, and Ohio Valley Sports Online will be there. We'll be on there at 6:30. From Woody Hayes Stadium in New Philadelphia. Thanks for being with us, Coach.
Well, thanks for having us. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Okay. This is Ray Suckots along with Coach Reno Suckots for Ohio Valley Sports Online, sponsored by Fort Steuben Maintenance. We'll see you Friday night. 6:30 we'll be on the air, 7 o'clock kickoff. Until then, stay well. Thanks for watching.